What is up, everybody, here on the first Legends Look Back episode of 2021. New year, same shenanigans going on in the world. It's been a crazy couple days in the U.S., at least. I know we've got an international audience. I also know our international audience has been paying attention to what's been happening at home. And we just want to start off the show by, of course, saying, hey, we're going to talk about some wacky Legends stuff. We're going to show off some holiday presents that we've received and books that we've bought ourselves with income that is somewhat disposable. And even if it's not, it's become disposable now that we've spent it on Star Wars books. So we at least want to start off the episode by saying that, you know what, in the midst of our own personal Revenge of the Sith that it feels like we're living, we do, however, want to acknowledge the pain and fear that people are experiencing. We're right here with you in it. We're in the midst of it. You should have heard our pre-show conversation before we press the live button. If only you could feel Meg's stress level like I can feel. Anyway, we absolutely just want to make it clear that we don't stand with those who are inflicting terror on the country. We hope that this show can bring you some escapism or some peace or some shenanigans. Hey, we're going to have a fun time here tonight talking Star Wars, and we are excited that you are here with us. Now, what do you think, Freddy? Does that about sum it up?
Yeah, I think that sums it up. Just it's a crazy environment out there right now, and just enjoy your favorite things at this point, which is Star Wars in our opinion.
Absolutely. And you know what else is happening in the world of Star Wars? It has been a heck of a week for Star Wars, hasn't it, Freddy?
Yes, and I can't tell you how many times I've misspelt this sentence to Hugh Republic.
Hugh Republic. Oh, amazing. Yeah, it's I'm trying to just shuffle through this massive stack of stuff I'm going to show off on the show tonight. This is the first of 4 copies of Light of the Jedi that I own, and actually have not read this one, read a digital version, but the other day my wife said to me, your Target order's coming in soon. And that's when I said, uh-oh, what Target order? She looked it up and said, Light of the Jedi, you pre-ordered it in July. And I said, oh, because I also pre-ordered it from other places. So they're just coming in like the letters from Hogwarts that come through the door. You know what I'm talking about, Freddy? And they're just keep on coming. They got Lights of the Jedi happening everywhere.
Flying everywhere.
I'll tell you what, if it makes it to the #1 on the New York Times bestseller list, I deserve one of those Yavin medals for as many times as I've bought the list. Bought this book. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the High Republic launch in just a minute. But for now, let's start the show. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Legends Look Back, a show brought to you by Youtini.com, a show that's been described as a podcast for people who say, hey, remember Y2K? Every single New Year's, where we talk about all things Star Wars Legends, celebrating our rich EU history, as well as diving into lesser-known Star Wars classics. I'm your host, Jared Mays, and today I'm joined for the first time in 2020, Freddy C. What's up, Freddy?
Not to be confused with John Legend's oldest hits. But I'm doing well. There's High Republic, kind of taking away the craziness in the world, all of the stuff coming out for this new era. It's going to be interesting. It's not quite Legends, but it's going to be a good ride either way as a Star Wars fan.
Yeah, it's really an interesting time period because it's so close to the Phantom Menace, and yet it's far enough away from the Phantom Menace that it feels fresh and new and full of possibilities. We've got like not a young Yoda, but a less crusty Yoda than we've got in the prequels. So it's like it's in this unique time period. We, however, in Legends, we hold, for now at least, we've got claim to the Old Republic, but High Republic now is happening in canon. We've got all kinds of new books coming out. So far, we've got the Marvel comic and Light of the Jedi and A Test of Courage. Today in the mail, I got my copy of The Great Jedi Rescue, and I had to fight my kids off from taking the stickers out of it because this is a collector's copy, y'all. Collector's copy. I'll buy another one for my kids, but I don't want it to be ransacked. Once those stickers are out of there, the value on it just plummets, doesn't it, Freddy?
Yeah.
Yeah, those stickers are daddy's.
I used to collect like the sticker books back in the day, and they just started falling out and not worth it anymore.
Yeah. This one's important. in my mind's eye, I haven't made it happen in real life yet. I'm thinking about an entire High Republic shelf. And if you've seen my Star Wars room, maybe in the behind the scenes Youtini decrypted video I did a few months ago, you'd be asking yourself, well, where would you put another shelf? And that is the problem. That's the question. I don't yet know, but it's probably going to happen. I've shown off one new book that I've gotten recently, that is Light of the Jedi, but I happen to know for a fact that Meg has a brand new Legends book to show off that she has recently acquired, and I've got a big secret to say right after Meg shows off her Legends book. You got it for us, Meg? What's your new acquisition?
Get ready for Kenobi, the hardcover.
So beautiful. Bring it up like 3 inches, Meg. There it is. Yeah,
there
awesome.
It is. There it is.
It's so gorgeous.
Isn't it great?
It looks like your copy might be maybe like 10% fresher than mine, because I also got the Kenobi hardcover. Ah!
Why are we buying the same things without consulting each other
this
first?
did also just happen recently, Meg, with Darth Plagueis.
Yeah, that's right.
But let it be known, this was not discussed. It was not pre-planned.
Nope.
It's just the way the Force works. We're a Force dyad.
I get sure.
Something like that.
I guess so.
How about you, Freddy? What you got? Oh, just as good of a book as Kenobi, The Crystal Star.
I actually
gosh.
I found this randomly I was at a thrift store with my parents, just browsing around, and it was just sitting on the shelf there, and it's in a really good shape, almost as if no one ever read this. So,
well, I'm not going to say whether or not they should read it, because let's be honest, I have not read it since probably the 90s. It has been a while. We'll get to it one of these days, because you know what, Freddie? I ordered The Crystal Star today from
Nice.
Thrift Books. How about that for some Legends synergy? What happened was I've got my wish list on Thrift Books, and every now and then if I'm bored, I'll scroll through and just see if anything on my wish list is in stock and of good quality. And of course at a good price. And I needed to get my rewards points. They're offering some kind of bonus on rewards points. I've always got different things going on. I was like, well, I guess I'll order the Crystal Star. It's going to give me extra points, and it'll go on my shelf, and we'll get it to it one of these days. But I got to say, out of all the new things that I've picked up lately, the thing that I'm most excited to show off is I yesterday went to my local comic store and picked up, I actually don't even know the exact count, 5 or 6 copies of Kevin Scott's new High Republic comic. And Freddie, have you ever collected like variant covers on comics? Because it is a deep, dark, expensive rabbit hole, my friend.
It is a very, very expensive rabbit hole. There were 2 comics that I collected variants of, because the art on the covers were just probably the best cover art I've ever seen. And both of them were titled, well, one of them was titled The Star Wars, and the other one was just Star Wars. And there was a Macquarie variant that I was on the hunt for, and I cannot tell you how long it took me to finally get it, and it was quite expensive.
Nice. Yeah. I've never collected variant covers, and when it comes to Star Wars comics, I mostly read digitally. I've recently started picking up the Legends Epic collections, which I did get another one of those recently. I had a pre-order that came in of the Tales of the Jedi. What do we call this sucker? The Tales of the Jedi Legends Epic Collection. Even though it doesn't actually contain any of the issues of Tales of the Jedi, it's a whole thing. But I imagine they're eventually going to get there. It actually collects the Dawn of the Jedi comics. Anyway, I'll reread this one of these days. But I did go to my local comic store. Me and 2 other local Star Wars fans who I've recently made acquaintance with from a distance behind masks and all that. We all stormed into the comic store right as they opened, immediately gobbled up all of the collector's variants of Light of the Jedi. What do we call this thing? The High Republic by Kevin Scott. So if I can get these not too reflective with my light, I got the cover here with the Nile. This one's got like the Drin gear or whatever you call those things. Got the Trandoshan Jedi on there. This one's fun. It's got Avar, Chris, and Yoda on the cover.
That one's really cool.
It is beautiful. And both the guys in the comic book store and me, we almost walked out without it. We didn't see it. It was in the very back of the stack. And then one of them on the way out the door said, wait a second, isn't one of these supposed to have Yoda? And we all ran back in the room. We found them. All right, here's the regular cover, which is gorgeous. And then this one was the most expensive that I paid for. There's more expensive ones that are out there, but the most expensive. This one's got what Keeve Trennis with her double-bladed green lightsaber. Awesome, absolutely incredible. Anyway, pretty excited, and I'm thinking about constructing some kind of like a comics display area in here. I'm not sure what that would look like, but if anybody's good at like home improvement projects, if you got a cool comics variant covers collection, throw them in the Legends Look Back Discord channel. We'd love to hear about it. How about you, Meg? You ever collected variant covers on comics?
I have a few of one of the issues of, what was it? Whatever, the Age of
Oh yeah,
Resistance.
Yeah, the Age of whatever. Yeah, there's a lot of them.
I know. Whichever one had Phasma. Phasma had like a single issue.
Sure.
And there are
That's
a couple
smart.
of those, and of course I had to have those. So.
Oh, see, Meg, now you've got my wheels spinning. I'm like, I should get the variant covers with all of my favorite characters on them.
There you go.
Like now I'm like, I got to get the variant covers for Dark Empire, and that's got to be expensive because that's a 30-year-old comic at this point. So it's gonna happen. They're going to love me at my local comic book store after all this is said and done. But I don't want it to get out of hand. I went into it thinking, like, I want to support local business. It's got to be a hard time to be a local comic book store because not a lot of people are coming in person. You can buy digitally. I was like, I want to throw them some business. I want to throw some of my Christmas money their way. And, I'm really loving this High Republic launch. Absolutely loved Light of the Jedi, one of my favorite canon books to date. Incredibly written book. And was like, if this comic's anything like it, it's going to be great. So I'll limit myself to 5 covers, which just so happened to be exactly how many they had in store. So I won, they won, the economy won, Star Wars won. Kevin Scott even said something to me when I showed him my picture on Twitter. So it's been a good week. I got to unzip my jacket. It's getting sweaty in here. But tonight we are going to be talking about a comic that is, a comic that's not been released this week, a comic that who knows how many variant covers there are for it because there's a lot. We are going to be talking about Knights of the Old Republic. Freddy, do you like Knights of the Old Republic?
I just get such bliss when I hear HK47 calling me a meatbag.
Meatbags? Wait a second. No, Freddy, we're not talking about the video game. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love being called a meatbag by HK47. HK47, the best droid in all of Legends. Best droid in all of Star Wars. Take that, R2. But we're not talking about the 2003 video game. He's truly the best droid, though.
So, no Zalbar either?
I can't remember if Zalbar is in this. Mission's in this, in at least an issue or two. I'm afraid not, though, Freddy.
What about the first volume of the Tales of the Jedi comics from the 90s with Naomi Sunrider, Ulick Kaldroma?
You really are highlighting a real problem that we've got here in Legends, Freddy, and that's the fact that there's a lot of things titled Knights of the Old Republic. So some disambiguation here. We just recycle all of our titles in Legends. We got, as I said earlier in the episode, Tales of the Jedi is named, for this big collection that doesn't have any Tales of the Jedi in it. All of that is to say, tonight we are taking our look at just the introduction. We're just going to be talking mostly about the first issue, some behind-the-scenes trivia. We'll get more into the meat over the next couple of weeks of John Jackson Miller's 50-plus issue series from Dark Horse Comics starring Padawan Zane Carrick called Knights of the Old Republic. Woo! That's a lot of Knights of the Old Republic. We'll be calling it KOTOR from here on out, just for the sake of the mouthful. And what's amazing, Freddy, is did you know that we actually have an anniversary coming up with this KOTOR comic?
We do?
Yeah. In fact, John Jackson Miller took to Twitter tonight to do a little bit of clarification for the fact that issue 1 of John Jackson Miller's series came out on January 5th, 2006. So 15-year anniversary coming up. But the issue 0 actually came out after issue 2. So people were sending him congratulations on the 15-year anniversary of your comic. And he had to say, well, hold your horses. That the issue 1 came out and then issue 2 and then issue 0. Isn't that the most Star Wars thing ever, Freddy?
Totally.
Yeah, we got episode 4 and then episode 5 and then episode 6 and episode 1, 2, and 3 and then episode 7. And then Rogue One, what do we even name that thing? Anyway, first issue came out January 25th, 2006. It ran for 5 years, which is pretty incredible. It seems like with the recent Marvel comics, it's hard for anything to get up to that kind of steam. Dark Horse, I think, had a little bit better track record in terms of being able to piece together longer series without just rebooting them with number ones. Marvel has more of a history of that. And for some more trivia with the publishing, the release dates, this is incredible. John Jackson Miller puts all of the behind the scenes info on his website, Far, Far Away something. What's he call his website? I've botched it.
Far Away.
John, if you're watching this, I'm sorry. I tried. We're trying to plug your website and I absolutely ruined it. Anyway, just Google John Jackson Miller's website. There's got all kinds of great behind the scenes stuff there. He's got behind the scenes info on every single issue of Knights of the Old Republic. I'll be referencing Far, Far Away Press. Yes, Skooma Joe.
Far Away
that's
Press.
Right.
Yeah.
Far Away Press. Far Away Press. He puts out behind the scenes info on every single piece of Star Wars that he writes, and I'll be referencing bits and pieces as is relevant to our show. Amazingly, issue 1 of Knights of the Republic came out exactly 363 days after John Jackson Miller had his initial conversation with the editorial crew at Dark Horse about writing this comic. 363 days. Isn't that incredible, Freddy?
That is. I don't know if you knew this, but he was just coming off of, I believe he was, before he started with Dark Horse, he was working on the Iron Man comic.
Oh yeah.
And it was like a year-long comic that he was he was pretty tired after it, and he was taking a break and ended up in Oregon talking with Dark Horse. And I mean, who knew that he'd get a 5-year contract with that?
Yeah, incredible.
After he thought a year was a long time.
There's some good job security if you're a writer. It feels like that's a hard thing to come by as a writer. Some job security, a 5-year series. I wonder how much of it was just the name, Knights of the Old Republic. And if you're wanting just like a prequel to the video game, that's not what this is. It's got some bits and pieces that tie in amazing ways. They're huge payoffs when it does reference the video game. But I think part of why it is so successful as being its own thing is he doesn't try to capitalize too much on the video game. It's not derivative. He writes his own story, really commits to his characters, and the world building in this is incredible. I've got to admit, I am on issue 30 personally of this 50, maybe a little bit more, depending on if we're counting issue 0. We don't count episode 0 of Legends Lookback, so I'm not sure if he counts issue 0 of Knights of the Old Republic, but I'm on issue 30 personally. Hopefully by this time next week, when we get around to our next episode, I will have finished it. So there's a lot to get through. But amazingly, you can pick this up in a variety of formats. Now, it's been released in the Dark Horse Omnibuy, which are a little bit more difficult to come by these days. Or, as I showed off earlier, you can get the Marvel Legends Epic Collection. They have 3 volumes of the Epic Collections to collect all of these issues if you want. Or something coming out very soon, which is pretty exciting, is a massive hardback omnibus, and there's 2 different versions of them, Freddy. You know I'm a sucker for a variant cover. So we just spent the first 10 minutes of the show establishing. Have you seen these, man? Have you seen these new hardcovers?
I did. I really like them. They're so nice.
Which one do you think you'll pick up? We got the one with the cover art that's on issue 0, and then another one with like the dark and broody Zane Carrick cover art it's on. Well, I'm not on the issue yet, but I think I'm getting close. Issue maybe 30 something. Are you going to get the one with the full spread of the whole cast, or just the dark and broody Zane Carrick?
I definitely like the whole cast. That's what I was used to seeing, so I might just go with that. But the dark and broody Zarek, I don't know. It's hard to say. I like both of them.
You got the Cheen cover and the Weaver Weaver
Jared.
cover. I know. So Skooma says that he just got the one with the Weaver cover. I don't remember which one I got, but I'll have to find out that info for next week. I know I'm excited. They've actually got a great deal on it over on it's issue 33 cover. Thanks, Skooma Joe. It's the issue 33 cover. See, I knew I was close. Pretty exciting. They've got a great deal on this over at what's the name of this website? Things from Another World. So obviously we would typically plug Youtini and get our affiliate links. We don't have an affiliate link on this one yet, but if we do, you'll be the first to hear about it. We'll throw a link over in the Legends Lookback Discord channel. So there's a variety of ways to read this. A ton of different artists have worked on this series. And maybe next week we can start off with having Freddy show off his favorite cover art from the whole series, because Freddy's a sucker for cover art, aren't you?
I am. First thing I do when I look at a comic book, look for the secret name, right? Oh, Travis,
One of the really fun things to talk about here is the inspiration for Zane Carrick. We'll get to him in a minute, that the artist actually used. But one final piece of behind the scenes trivia to cover is that the timeline placement on all of this is 3,964 years before the Battle of Yavin, according to the Wook. I did not do the math myself. Sandwiched between, and this is where it really gets interesting, it's sandwiched between the Tales of the Jedi comics and the Knights of the Old Republic video game, even though it was written after both of them, taking place during the Mandalorian Wars. Even though it's not primarily about the Mandalorian Wars, it's primarily about this conflict with Zane and this Jedi cabal of evil. What are they called? I've got it in the notes here somewhere. The villains. Help me out, Freddy. The Jedi Covenant.
Yeah, the Covenant. Yeah.
So it really focuses on this personal story with them, but from time to time, you'll just catch them right in the middle of a massive battle, and there's Mandalorians just blasting each other, and you're like, oh, hey, this really ties in well now that we're in the middle of our own Mandalorian TV show. So it's definitely one of the, I would say, best Legends things you could pick up if you want some more Legends Mandalorian action in your life. So 3,964 years, because I think they date Knights of the Republic, the video game, 4,000 years. So we're dating back from that forward from the Knights of the Republic video game, 2003 Game of the Year. All that is to say that this leads to be the backdrop and lead in for the video game. It's referencing some things from those 90s Tales of the Jedi comics issue I was reading tonight. Talked a little bit about Ludo Kresh. Let me some Ludo Kresh. But without further ado, let's get into it. Remember, if you have not had an opportunity to pick these up, tonight we're mostly just going to be setting up some basic overarching bits and pieces from the series, spoiling a little bit from issue 1 and issue 0, but there's really nothing all that spoiler really from issue 0. And then in the next week, we're going to cover the series as it's in its entirety. So remember that this will be spoiler heavy territory, at least tonight for issue 1, nothing beyond that in particular. So without further ado, here we go. On the night on which Zane Carrick and his fellow Padawan classmates were to be knighted, or in Zane's case, probably wasn't going to be knighted because he wasn't all that successful at being a Jedi Padawan in the first place, Zane arrived late to discover that the Jedi Masters who he had befriended and known and trusted all these years had murdered their students. Teaming up with his former nemesis Marn Hieroglyph, or Griff for short, the small-time Snivian crook, Zane finds himself on the run from his former masters and investigating the truth behind this tragic turn of events. Freddie, I think that was the shortest summary I've given in the history of Legends Look Back. There's so much more we'll get into in terms of details for next week, but in terms of just setting it up, Scuba Joe, does that do it justice? No, don't answer that. Don't answer that because I know it doesn't. But Freddie, I know that this isn't a series you've been overly familiar with, at least until recently when I said we're going to cover it on the podcast. So how much of this have you read up to this point, and how would you rate it on the scale of 1 to 10?
So first of all, the way John Jackson Miller portrays Jedi, I actually don't mind. I feel like he's one that how do I describe this? He tries to tear them down a little bit, showing them that they are not as powerful or as good as people think they are. And they do have this holier than thou mentality and try to take the future into their hands in most cases. And they tend to be the cause of a lot of issues, right? And you can see it with even in canon. We see it with Luke trying to take it into his own hands. It turns the very people they're trying to teach into the thing that they're trying to fight against, right? The Sith in this case. And I really like that point of view because I feel like it's something that needs to be talked about in Star Wars because it's true, and I'm glad that he does it. And I was never really too into the Knights of the Old Republic genre. It was more into like the I guess at the time it was just the current era of Star Wars. And I started getting into it when I started playing the MMO
Oh,
And
sure. Yeah.
yeah, and then I started reading it, and then I read it again when we talked about it for this episode, and I have to say I like it a lot, and I'm really into it, and I can see why there's 52 comics. I mean, you just read one and you just want to move on to the next.
Yeah, that's true. It's very bingeable. For me, I think the things that have me the most interested are the tie-ins to the video game because I've played it so many times, loved it so much, and in high school, so excited to whenever they do reference a character. It's got some great appearances from some of the characters from the game. I don't want to spoil it. It's just when they do show up, it's incredible, and they're written really, really well. So I kind of live for those moments. But then he also writes some of these original characters that are excellent along the way. I'll say this much: there's a pair of Ithorian bounty hunters, the Mumo brothers,
Oh,
who I think are
so good.
absolutely some of my favorite Legends characters. Every time they show up on the page, I'm like, this is amazing because the trope is, and John Jackson Miller does a good job at avoiding this. The trope typically is that if we talked about this before, Freddie, if you're a Rhodian, you're a bounty hunter,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And you're always gonna get shot.
Yeah.
Whether you get shot first or second, it doesn't matter. But you're gonna die if you're a Rhodian bounty hunter. You're like a sniveling loser of a bounty hunter.
Exactly.
What's another good example of this, Freddie? Like a species that always gets pigeonholed as of one profession.
Let's see. Well, this is a tough one because I keep thinking about droids. That's all I think about. Obviously, they have to do their
Droids
thing.
are not a species, Freddie.
No.
But
Thorians.
there is like this trope of having a droid that's like R2 or a droid that's like 3PO. And so I
Sure.
think it's harder for authors to conceive of different kinds of droids, which is once
Yeah.
again why we love HK-47 so much, because he's an
Oh.
assassin droid. And since then, so many people have just parodied HK-47.
Yeah. Let's see. You can think of the what is it? The Sullust folk, Sullustans. I forget what they call them. They're all
Yeah,
good,
yeah,
great
they're always pilots.
Yeah,
They're good
great
co-pilots.
pilots.
Just
Co-pilots.
co-pilots.
Yeah,
Right,
just
sure.
co-pilots.
Elena makes a great point that Trandoshans are always bad guys. And she makes a good point. There is now a Trandoshan Jedi in the High Republic stuff. And Skier, how do you say it? Skier. Sibo. Who's Sibo, Wes? I'm not sure. I can't remember. I don't. If it's not Legends that you're missing, it's lost on me. Anyway, yeah, help me out here. If you can think of a time when there's a species that is just like always pegged as one particular thing, that's particularly helpful. Okay, Wes says that Sibo is a Rhodian Lobot from Rebels. That's right. So there's a Rhodian who breaks the mold, but it's rare. It's certainly rare. So that's one of the things that I think John Jackson Miller does well. I'm going to rate this. Freddie, did you give me a number?
I did give you a number. So I've only gotten up to Vector, which I believe is like the 8th.
Yeah, that's what I just finished tonight.
Okay. So far, I really like it. I really like it. To me, it's been more of an introduction to the Knights of the Old Republic universe, which is still something I haven't dove into as much. But I like it so far. I'm going to give it so far a 7 because I just like John Jackson Miller and I like what he does with the Jedi.
Yeah. I'm like a 7.7 or 8. I'm close to it being an 8. And I think by the time the series is done, it's going to be an 8 for me because it tells this incredibly personal story. And I do want those moments where it does break into the larger goings on of the galaxy whenever it does touch on Cassius Fett and the Mandalore and the Mandalorian Wars, and we really get into behind the scenes on what's really going on in the larger galaxy. There's a villain from KOTOR who comes up from time to time before he is as villainous as he is in KOTOR. That's all I'll say for tonight. And so there's some times there where I'm like, oh, this is what I'm living for. But then there's a lot of other goofy stuff, like any of the goofy stuff between Zane and Griff in particular, where they're like bumbling buffoons. I'm like, this is a little bit Three Stoogie to me, but then at other times it's like classically Star Wars. I think about like Han and Chewie running down the hallway of the Death Star, like running from all the stormtroopers. John really captures that fun side of Star Wars, don't you think?
I think so. I was reading something, and I'm gonna have to go back when we talk about the comic books, but I feel like there was almost a dare to do something. And I'll try to read back and see if I can pinpoint it, but it was almost like there was a dare for him to insert some kind of thing into Star Wars, and he made it work, and it was really cool. So I'll bring it up for the next podcast.
Yeah, we've got all kinds of behind the scenes info as we get into it next week. I know Skuma Joe says, how dare you rate it lower than a 10 out of 10? It's his favorite. We've all got our favorite. Pretty soon we're going to be talking about the Jedi Academy trilogy. I think we're going to have a pretty biased perspective on the Jedi Academy trilogy. We're going to rate it really highly between me and Freddy and Nathan because we all have this incredible place of nostalgia for it. However, objectively, we all know it's not that great in terms of its writing style. But oh man, do I love me some Sun Crusher Kip Duran action.
Oh yeah.
So hey, we've all got our own perspective on what makes it great. And the Knights of the Republic game for me is a 10 out of 10. And for the depth that this lends to that game, in terms of the way it develops some of those key characters, and then the backdrop of events with the Mandalorian Wars, I mean, it makes that game even better for me. So how can you make a 10 out of 10 even better? Anyway, so it does really well with that. Tonight, as we get into the episode, we're just going to talk about a couple of key characters before we talk about more characters next week. First and foremost, the hero himself, but he's actually kind of a loser, isn't he? Zane Carrick. I almost called him Jane Carrick. There's a gender-flipped version. Jane Carrick. All right, so Freddy, at the outset of the series, Zane is thought basically to have only marginal force ability, and it's interesting to find him in the first, issue and a half there of finding him as this trope of the failed Padawan, because that is something that comes up from time to time. The Padawan who's actually not all that force sensitive, not as good of a Jedi as others, comes up from time to time in Legends. Even in a recent High Republic book, there's a character of that trope. But then he expands beyond that. He's unsure at the beginning of whether or not he'll be knighted, but then now I've read 30 issues of this, but I did have to get a little bit of help from Wikipedia just to try to describe and characterize Zane, because I was struggling, to be honest with you. I was struggling to put his character into words. So see if I can do a better job for next week. But according to the Wook, Zane possesses, don't you just love the powers and abilities sections on Wikipedia, Freddy?
Yeah.
Now,
So good.
according to the Wook, these are his powers and abilities. All right. Let me know if you think all these are actual powers and abilities. But I do love this list. 1, a natural ability to form close friendships. 2, random destructive power, aka clumsiness. 3, frequent force visions. So it described him as having a strong connection to the unifying force, which grants him these visions, which he does a good job at interpreting them. I think about the analog of being like the biblical Joseph, who's good at like perceiving visions. So that's kind of fun. Gotta have my Bible analogies, Freddy. You know me. And then fourthly, the power that is called reversal of fortunes, where he grows stronger as a result of failure. Now, I do have to say, speaking of powers and abilities, meant to mention this at the beginning of the episode. Freddy, in the High Republic, in Light of the Jedi, this is pretty exciting. We've got a Jedi character who, in perfect Legends fashion, brings the incredible, overpowered force ability of battle meditation back into the limelight.
Yes.
So battle meditation has made a comeback. All right, I had to make sure I put that out there. But all right, with Zane, with these different powers and abilities, which of these, I'm going to ask you 2 questions. 1, if you had to choose one of these 4 abilities and powers, if we want to call them that, personally, which one do you think you would want the most? All right, which of these would you pick if you were going to get one special Jedi power, and it had to be one of Zane Carrick's powers? Which one would you pick? Feel free, everybody, to follow along with us in the chat. And then secondly, which one of these do you think you would be most likely to have? Which one of these best characterizes you? Because I know for sure, for me, it's the clumsy thing. I have spilled about 100,000 gallons of orange soda in my lifetime. Okay, how about you, Freddy? Which of these do you think you would want the most, and which one is the most, honestly, the power that you would have?
I would love reversal of fortunes. I think that's crazy.
I mean, don't we all have reversal of fortunes if you think about it? We all grow stronger with failure.
True.
Failure, the greatest teacher is. Yoda, Last Jedi. All right. Could you not tell?
That was
ahead,
a good
Freddy.
one.
Which
That was
one
a
would
good
you
one,
pick?
by the way. So definitely reversal of fortunes, I think, would be really cool, because how many times are you just tired of failing over and over, maybe?
Yeah.
But I feel like the one that I have the most is definitely the natural ability to form close friendships, without a doubt. I
Yeah.
feel like
Okay. I can see that.
that's definitely the one that I have if I were to have that as a power.
I can definitely attest to that. The first conversation you and I ever had, Freddie, I said, "Hey, I need somebody to hop on a call with me and help me test out my Legends podcast idea." And you were like, "I'll be there." And from the opening moments, I was like, "Hey, we've got some real chemistry." But I'm starting to suspect, Freddie, that this is how it goes with you in every conversation with everybody ever. People always just feel like you're their best friend. So,
Well, I don't know if you remember, but what was it, the last episode? If we had a bunch of clones of ourselves, what would we do? And I happen to want to be friends with all of mine.
yeah, you did say that. Oh my goodness, that's amazing. Amazing. All right, so I said for me, definitely have the clumsiness. Kuma Joe says he has that as well. And feel free, everybody, to play along with us there in the chat. So we've got a good group with us here tonight. Welcome. Glad to have you with us here for the live show. If you're listening on audio, remember we do the show every week, Thursday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. You're welcome to join us and answer these questions with us in the chat. Which one would I want to have the most? The Force Visions. The Force Visions would be good. I don't know though. I prefer to just get like the full REM sleep. Don't want to have the nightmares. Random destructive power. It's like turning clumsiness into an actual power. so that one's fun. But let me ask you this, Freddie. Did you know which famous actor Dustin Weaver, the artist, based Zane's appearance on? Now, I did not put the answer in the show notes because I want you to look at the art and think what young version of a famous 2006 actor do you think he based Zane's appearance on?
This is a good one. Definitely not Arnold Schwarzenegger.
No, not that one.
Let me see. I'm going to search his name right now. I'm going to look at his picture.
Yeah, look him up. Everybody else, you're free to do so. I've actually got to find. I wrote the answer down somewhere today so that Freddie wouldn't see the answer. But so I would have the answer on.
We don't rehearse any of this stuff, by the way. Every time he asks a question or like a quiz of some sort, I literally.
No, this is the fun part. I love putting some games in the Legends Look Back.
Yeah. Man, this is a tough one. I can't. I'll
tell you this much: as soon as I read it on John Jackson Miller's website, I was like, immediately I could see it, but I couldn't see it. I didn't realize it until it's not like the cover of The Courtship of Princess Leia, where you're like, that's not Iceholder, that's definitely Fabio. It's not quite like that, but it's Christian Slater.
Oh my god! Okay, yep, I could see it.
Now, you and I are both a little bit confounded because we've been reading the Vector story arc, which is done by a different artist, which has a totally different art style. It's much more cartoony. So we're both picturing like a different version of the character. But another character who definitely has an interesting artistic inspiration is his sidekick / arch nemesis / best friend over the course of the series, and that is Griff himself. Based on your initial impression, Freddie, Griff, of course, fits into a couple of different Star Wars tropes. On the one hand, he's the classic Star Wars sidekick in the vein of Chewbacca, right? On the other hand, he's also in the vein of the Star Wars scoundrel types. He's got his own moral compass. He's kind of a thief. He's a small-time crook who doesn't want to be called a small-time crook, right? It's a big deal for him that he is that he's actually a large-time criminal. An intergalactic criminal, not just a small-time crook. So based on your initial impression, where do you rank Griff among the best Star Wars sidekicks and then among the best scoundrel types in Star Wars?
I like him. I like him a lot. I think he's very unique. He how do I describe it? He's definitely not that successful, and in his head he is like one of the best, and he can get all the riches whenever he needs them. Any ship he needs. Oh, don't worry, I know a guy there.
His best trait is that he knows a guy.
Yeah, exactly.
It never seems to work out well for them, but he always knows a guy.
Yeah, I like him a lot. I don't know where to rate him yet. I'm gonna give it some time. Maybe I'll rate him the next episode.
Sure.
But he's growing on me. I like him.
Yeah. Here's the fun thing about him. John Jackson Miller initially didn't want to. He didn't initially want to make him a Snivian. He actually had a different species in mind. Do you know the answer to this, Freddie? What species did he plan on making Griff before his editors made him change it into a character who was able to show more facial expressions?
This one I feel like I do know. Max Rebo. What is his species?
Yeah, the Ortolan,
Yeah,
Ortolan,
yeah, or Tolan, something like that. Yeah, yeah,
the
I did
blue
know that.
elephant man. Now, Freddie, do you know the behind the scenes Star Wars drama over the species of Ortolans? There's like a long standing debate surrounding Max Rebo.
Well, I do know that I know there was something that we've been talking about in Discord or Slack, I forget, but I know that they don't make any. So the reason I remember John Jackson Miller, the reason why they told him not to use him is because the Ortolans, I believe, don't have facial expressions. So
Right, right.
how would you
Just a
really?
snout, big
Yeah,
snout,
just a snout, and
and
how do you
eyes.
really exactly? And this is a comic book. This is a visual thing, so
You're gonna be looking at this sucker for 50 issues. It's like a fun gag for one issue, but then if he's a main character, it's really gonna get old. Actually, one of the long-standing like Star Wars species debates is how many arms, how many limbs do Ortolans have? Because if you're really paying attention, um, Max Rebo is playing the piano with his feet, so he's actually doesn't have arms. So it's one of the fun. Yeah, that's what Scuba Joe says. Max Rebo's hands are his feet, and his ears are actually flippers.
okay,
But
yeah.
there's tons of anatomically incorrect versions of Max Rebo of Ortolans out there. There's tons of them with extra limbs, extra appendages, which is not canon or legends. It's just a mistake. Anyway, thankfully, Griff did not end up as an Ortolan, no matter how many limbs you would have given him, because it just wouldn't quite have worked. But instead, he is a Snivian. Freddie, do you know what the common colloquial name for Snivians are? Do you know what?
Are we
Another
allowed to
term?
say this? This
It
derogatory.
almost sounds like a racial slur, doesn't it?
Let me see if it shows up.
You're gonna see if they let you put it in the.
Snaggletooth.
Oh, I thought you were gonna try to type it into the Twitch chat and see if they edited it. Like they're gonna censor you for saying snaggletooth. Yeah, was that the blue snaggletooth or the red snaggletooth?
Blue snaggletooth.
The blue snaggletooth. I've got it. I got the red snaggletooth Funko. I have to get the blue one of these days. Yeah, so he's a snaggletooth. John Jackson Miller does a great job at this in using an original trilogy character in a way that they've never really been highlighted before. So finally got a snaggletooth in the limelight. I think it actually comes up in the series. I'll see if I can find a reference to it where somebody calls him a snaggletooth, and he took offense to that. He was like, "Don't you call me that." All right, so we got a fun thing in the chat here from Skooma Joe. He actually says Karth Onassi. You'll know Karth from Knights of the Republic video game. He actually makes an appearance in this series. He actually says Dustin Weaver, the same artist we talked about earlier. Siri, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to Freddy. Dustin Weaver based Karth Onassi's appearance on John Jackson Miller. Okay. Yeah. I'd seen that. I'd forgotten it. So that's excellent. Incredible. So we've talked a little bit about our main characters. We haven't said much about, nothing substantial about these guys, but let's talk just for a minute about the main villain of the series. And that is, well, he's a Jedi Master. Lucian Dre is kind of leading this. And of course it comes up later in the series on who's actually leading this band of deranged Jedi. He leads this Jedi Covenant, the Jedi Consulars. I think issue 9 gives his backstory, if I'm correct. So you don't get it for a little while, but Lucian Dre and the Jedi Covenant, they're Jedi Consulars who basically believe that they need to prevent the return of the Sith, and that they've got these force visions that have led them into believing that they can prevent the return of the Sith, and so they're willing to do some evil things, eliminating their Padawans in order to, for the greater good, as far as they're concerned, to prevent the return of the Sith. So Freddie actually loaned some of these issues to my little brother-in-law, who's 13, over Christmas breaks. We were all sitting around reading our books, and he just wanted to play basketball instead. And I was like, listen, man, I just got a new Star Wars book. I'm going to sit and read. And I've got an extra Kindle over here with some Star Wars comics loaded on it. But there's nothing you're going to do for the next 2 hours to prevent me from drinking my coffee and reading this book. So I handed him this. The only comics on it were Knights of the Old Republic. I was like, knock yourself out, kid. And he asked me a very insightful question. I'm going to bring onto the podcast here, giving Dylan a shout out. The question is this. He says, do you think Lucian Dre and the Jedi Covenant actually think that they're evil? Or do they actually think that they're in the right? Do you think that they understand that they have slipped to the dark side? What do you think, Freddie? What's your take on this?
Yeah,
We obviously haven't finished the series yet, so who knows where this is going.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Just from my point of view, it seems like they have absolutely no idea. They're so self-absorbed. I don't even know how to consider it in real terms, but they definitely think they are right. And the fact that they go as far as killing their own Padawans to try to uh change, I don't want to I don't want to say too much, right? But it's right in issue 1. I try not to say too much. It's hard, but basically, if you have to kill somebody in order to, just to try to make things right, that's probably not the best way to do it.
Yeah.
First, you should try to see how things play out.
There we go.
Instead
Let's
of
put that on our
hovering-
business card. Legends Look Back. We don't condone murder for any reason.
Exactly. When you're sitting there hovering over your nephew with a blade, lightsaber, it doesn't
Get that
look too
back.
good.
Get that canon stuff out of here, Freddy. Never happened in Legends. Good boy Luke would never do such a thing.
No way.
No, I think you're right. And bring it into the real world just a little bit. This is an important point to make, that you should never be so sure of yourself, so sure that you're doing the right thing, that you lose sight of your values, that you lose sight of right and wrong from a broader perspective. We can be so convinced that we're right that we become the thing that we've sworn to destroy. And I think we're seeing that a little bit in real world politics. Here's one of my favorite things to say in a professional, personal context, to be willing to admit this. And it can be hard for some people, but I would say, the key to all my success as a person. Be willing to say this one sentence. All right, here's some free preacher advice for you. Here's a sentence that's going to change your life. Just say this: you might be right. If somebody disagrees with you, somebody holds a different perspective from you, if you can be willing to say this, you know what? You may be right. It does a lot to disarm the other person. It also, if you can truly mean it, if you're not disingenuous about it, if you can actually mean it, it's a way of taking yourself down a notch and saying, you know what? I can be fallible from time to time. I might misunderstand this issue. I am not a perfect person. So this is a perfect thing for us to think about in terms of analyzing the villains here, and get a little bit of a real world parallel, a real world analog. And Skooma Joe makes a great point here, and I think he's really onto something. He says one of his favorite things about KOTOR is the depth of the villains. Now, this is cool. It seems to me, at least on the rhythm that the series is taking. Have you noticed this, Freddy? Mm-hmm. That it's like almost every story arc highlights a different Jedi Master from the Jedi Covenant. So they each play a villainous role in a different way, in a different arc. Do you think that's accurate?
Yeah, that actually sounds accurate. I never really thought of it until now, but I that sounds about right to me. That's how it plays out, at least.
I just got to a new one tonight in the comics that I'm reading. I don't even know the dude's name. He's got big blue tentacles. It's not a Twi'lek. I think he's a different species that's similar to a Twi'lek. Anyway, he's coming in looking like a barbarian with his big blue lightsaber, and the rain is pouring down. I was like, okay, cool. I like that we're getting some variety here. And wow, we've barely scratched the surface on all of this, and yet there's so much for us to talk about. Next week, feel free, everybody, in the meantime, to put your suggestions. What character would you like for us to spend a few minutes on next week? Because there's no way we can talk about every single character across all 52 issues. But what we can do is talk about our favorites. We can also talk about some of your favorites. You got a character, you got a question, pop them in the Legends Look Back Discord channel. We'll be willing to go from there. Also coming soon, Nathan from the YouTubes, you know him and love him, is going to be joining us for his first time on Legends Look Back to talk about the classic Legends Jedi Academy trilogy by the infamous Kevin J. Anderson. And I could not be more excited. So that does it for this week. Thanks for joining us for Legends Look Back. And thanks, of course, to Meg, our producer, and the previously aforementioned Nathan, our video editor. Thanks especially to our incredible patrons and to our live audience who is right here with us tonight. We've loved having you. It's been fun to hang out with our Star Wars friends in a crazy week like this one. You, of course, can also get in on the behind the scenes of Youtini with access to all kinds of bonus shows. Meg, our very own Meg, has her own show, Faves, which I love. We've got Lightspeed Skipping making its return soon. The Star Wars Archives, which I just recorded a little blurb for tonight. We've got some fun Legends crossover content coming there and so much more. Also, now that we're live on Twitch, you can help us out by subscribing either the old-fashioned way or with Prime Gaming. And just steal those credits out of Bezos' pocket and put them right into the Youtini treasury. Also, remember that we want your questions. You can, of course, email us, legendslookback@youtini.com, or send us a message in the Legends Look Back Discord channel, or leave a comment on this episode on YouTube. Or, hey, this is pretty exciting. We've got our own Legends Look Back Twitter. You can tweet at us at Legends Look Back, or tweet us personally. I'm at Jared Q. Mays. Freddy?
At Wake Up Freddy.
And Meg?
At Meg Dowell.
Awesome. If you are looking to buy some of these books and want to help support the show, whoo, there's all kinds of ways you can buy it. Knights of the Old Republic. You can get it with multiple covers and multiple formats. You could buy all 52 issues and all 3 epic collections and both versions of the hardcover omnibus. Well, maybe that's too much. Hey, however you want to get it, you can go over to Youtini.com, click the Amazon link in the profile, and we'll get a few cents to help keep the lights on. Another way to help us out and show your love of Youtini is by grabbing some swag from our merch store at Youtini.com/merch. And if you read any of these books, head on over to Youtini.com, leave us a review. Leave us a review on all 52 issues while you're at it, because we got a lot to catch up on with this stuff. Let us know what you think. And remember, now more than ever, remember to keep the Youtini fan code and be a force for positivity in the fandom and in the world. May the force be with you.